It's great to see you. How are you?
Very, very good. All well with you?
Very well, thank you. Very well.
Is it good?
Yep. It's great to see you, and thank you so much for taking time out to come and visit me on the desert island.
Great pleasure.
And how's things for you in these uncertain times?
It's okay. I'm not one of those guys complaining. You know, life's going on. We have to make the best of it. I'm enjoying a lot of good time with my family. Got good bonding with my little son. It has a lot of good things in this messed up environment. We can pull out the best things for ourselves and try to have a good life.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah, indeed. There are a lot of positives, aren't there, that we can take from it, I guess.
Yeah.
And it's very good of you to take time out from running your successful business over in Dubai, Momentum, at the premier Middle Eastern dealers in vintage watches. So it's great to have you here. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
As ever, I've got my secret recipe coconut drink. Have you got a drink, Tariq, to keep us refreshed during our time together?
I do. Actually,
Wow.
I told my wife I need something else than a cool Diet Coke tonight. And she made me, it's mango season here in Dubai. So like everywhere here. And she made me a mango cocktail. And while she was making it, the soda on top was separated, and the bottom there was everything, lime and mango and everything. So I'm calling it the mango underline.
Oh, nice.
It's
Okay,
a mango
I
underline.
like that. I can see what you've
Very
done there.
delicious.
Yeah, it'll be very much sought after that for many years. There'll be people trying to track them down all over.
It's tropical too.
Yeah, tropical, underline. Even iced out. I mean, everything. This cocktail does it all for us. So, as well as running Momentum, you're a very passionate vintage Rolex collector and enthusiast. And so I'm hoping that you've managed to pack 3 or 4 fabulous watches that you'd be prepared to share with us on our time here together on the island.
I was able to grab a few of my absolute all-time favorites, which I would never part with. And yeah, I'm glad to have them with me, even if I'm here in the desert island.
Yeah. Nice greenery there in the background.
Yeah, some palm trees here, and we're in the desert, so it's just perfect.
Perfect, indeed. So let's kick off with watch number 1. What have you got to share with us?
Okay, so here I've got a Rolex GMT 1675
Wow.
early Mark IV version.
Wow, you've sent me some pictures. I'm going to share one of these now. This is a very, very, very cool looking watch. Look at that! Wow, stunning. So good. And on a Jubilee bracelet.
Yeah, I have to say this watch has a little bit of a story, and that's what we always remember, no matter how beautiful the watch is.
Absolutely.
So 4 or 5 years ago, a person visited me in the store, and he was looking he was from Lebanon, and he was looking for modern Nautiluses and stuff. So we had a really nice conversation, though we didn't end up doing any business.
Mm-hmm.
And then end of last year, I'm receiving a call, and I'm looking. I had saved the number because it was a really, really nice person. So I wanted to stay in touch somehow. And the person called me and says, "Tariq, I know you're not into modern, but you're the vintage guy. So I found something in my dad's safe."
Oh, we like the stories that start like this.
This is actually how the best Middle Eastern watches come on the market, because the dads themselves, they would never think about selling this. Never ever, for no money. You know,
oh,
it's
really?
like you have something, you don't need to sell it if you don't need the money. This is mentality. So, but the second generation, flashed by Instagram and auction results and world records, they always get things out and try to put a number on it.
Mm-hmm.
So he said, I found these watches, and there was a 5513, and there was this. And he said, I would like to sell them. And I said, send me some pictures. I'll have a look. And he sent me some pictures, and he gave me a price. And there was a little bit of negotiation. And then I said, okay, I'll buy the watches. And I said, I'll send you the money. And he's like, yeah, I don't know how to ship, and the logistic problems. And I said, yeah, I have a very, very good friend. He's a common friend, I believe, in Lebanon, Claude Swear. And
Oh yeah.
I said, Claude, I called him and said, because he was coming that weekend to see me in Dubai. I said, can I ask somebody to drop off a watch for you? You don't need to pay anything. Just take the watch and get it too. And so it's always risk for us to buy watches from strangers, watches from people we don't know how their assessment about quality is, because pictures can be deceiving too. So he came to see me on that weekend, and he said, I brought you the watches, here, have a look. And I was not so excited about the Submariner as much as about the GMT, because just a little bit earlier the year I had purchased a gilt sub, and they said, okay, I want to add a matching gilt GMT to my collection in that similar range, 1965, gilt, no minute track. And I said, okay, it could be like, to find one in that condition could be a tough game. That's why I'm going to just take this one because it's excellent, and wait until I find a gilt and maybe trade it for that. So I was not looking for a matte dial. And he pulled it out, and I took it in my hand. I was like, oh, it's really nice. And then I took my loop in my hand, and I wanted to start looping it. And he said, Tariq, some good watches, you don't need to loop. You just look at them and you say, they're great. He said, put the loop away. The watch it's fabulous. And that made me feel actually better, even,
Yeah, yeah.
So that watch came on a later oyster bracelet.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to have a Jubilee. Now the watch is unpolished. It's I wouldn't say it's new old stock condition, but it's above the 90% condition. Yeah. And so it's almost new old stock and condition. And I wanted to add a Jubilee bracelet, and you know how difficult it is to find a period correct a Jubilee bracelet in the condition of the watch.
Yeah, I can imagine that was tough.
No, I didn't do it. I didn't succeed. So what I did, I just asked. I ordered one from Rolex, a brand new one, because the condition would be the closest to what I have.
Oh, okay. Yeah, good thinking.
So that makes the watch a little bit more crispy. And in that case, I don't give much about period correct for a bracelet. No, it looks better.
It doesn't matter, does it? I mean, let's have a look at another picture that you sent me, because yeah, the condition really is just phenomenal. It really is. The case is lovely, isn't it? And I think you're right. I think if you did find a period correct bracelet, it probably would be a bit loose and a bit stretched and wouldn't quite set the head off like it needs to be.
Yeah, it has a really, really strong pumpkin patina, super fat front insert, and gunmetal gray. Sometimes it looks bluish, sometimes greenish, sometimes it looks black.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. Fabulous watch, and a great story as well. An interesting observation about the difference between the generations in the Middle East, and that approach to owning these watches and not wanting to sell them. And then, as you say, the next generation, it's all about the gram and seeing it on seeing the auction results. And it's like, wow, okay. And I guess that's the new way of thinking.
Yeah.
And for you, has it been a good place for you to find great watches over the years?
We found a lot of good watches. However, I don't see the UAE, or in general the Middle East, a good source for sports watches. If we look at Rolex, I would say the ratio is from 50 watches we're being offered, there's maybe 10 sports models, maybe.
Wow. Okay. Wow.
So speaking about oysters, date jaws, a lot of day dates, and this is how you start liking day date if you know what's out there. Yes. So I've seen a lot. I've seen watches here from royals, from first owner families, watches we would never find in any auction, any catalog, nowhere. So that's how I fell in love with them, and that's people know me as a dated guy as well.
Well, actually, that would be maybe a really neat segue into watch number 2, because I remember when I came to visit you late last year, you showed me this watch, and I was just like speechless because it's beautiful. Oh, there it is. What a great watch. I'm going to go straight to one of the pictures that you've sent me here, because it just needs to be seen. Super cool. So good. The dial as well. You mentioned about the insert on the GMT Master, how it changes depending on how the light catches it. This dial's a bit like that, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a galvanic dial, and this is I think the quality, the finishing is similar to what we see on root beers, and on root beer GMTs. You often find those examples which have a lot of burn on the dial, tritium burn. I think even on an auction house there was on a Geneva auction, there was also a GMT which was sold with a premium because that tritium burn looked like the indexes looked like small volcanoes. So I think they called it volcano or something.
Oh, I remember. Yes, I remember. Yeah, yeah.
Phillips, I think. So that happened. That doesn't happen to all finishings of dials. I think it happens to this one. This is a galvanic dial, and the galvanic dial also has the effect of the chameleon effect, I can say. You can see a gray, you can see a purple, you can see a blue, and you can even see a green.
Stunning, stunning. And what's the story behind this? Where did this come from? Are you allowed to talk about that?
Yeah. So first of all, I've seen the first one of these in my hand in 2013. It was on a private get-together with the UAE retailer Siddiqui. And they pulled out their briefcase with the 2030 watches of the past. I mean, they're Rolex dealers since the 60s, yeah. So you can imagine what was there and what they have. So they pulled out one. It was not exactly the same model. It was a white gold model with a silver dial and pink gold Arabic numeral. So that was the inspiration for me. I still have that picture on the phone. It says 2013. I said, at some point, I would like to own one of these forever. I want to just have it and keep it. You know, I don't really care about the values on that one. It's something. It was my biggest dream to buy an Arabic dial day date. So I don't know when it was. 2-3 years ago. You know, when we prepare for the auction marathon in Geneva, usually the catalogs pile up on the desk, and then we have to look through them, and then we have to send an email to the specialist. Can you send me pictures and condition reports? Even if I'm going on the auction, I would like to have that before, so I can do a selection of watches I want to see. So I saw that watch, and it was at an extremely low estimate. And I was like, shall I go and ask for the details? And I said, I will never be able to afford that. This small, low estimate or no reserve, I don't know what it was, low estimate. You know, it's just bullshit. You know, this watch is going to go to its real value like everyone.
Yeah, it's going to tease you into a false sense of security.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so I said, I requested pictures and details for all the other watches which I wanted to buy for the shop and sell, you know. But this one I didn't, because I thought I'm never going to be able to buy that. And well, ended up in Geneva, and when looking at the watches at the previews, I said, okay, bring it. Let me see, let me have a look, you know. And I looked at it and I was totally in love. And at that point I was like, let's just wait and see. And I think it was an auction themed a little bit around sport, what was Daytonas, some grander complications. So those were the highlights. So I was in the auction when the watch was opened. When the lot was opened, and you know, the increments were like bam, 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 and at some point there was silence. I said, that can't be true. You know, and I was like, nobody bidding? Okay, I'm bidding. You know, it was, and at that point, At that point, I said, I'm going to go until up to that amount. And that was crazy. I said, even because I was sure that people are just going to keep bidding, you know, even if somebody like me comes in, you know, and it's not a knockout. So I bid, and then there was another bid, and then it was silence again. And I did this, and it was like 1, 2, 3. And I was like, oh my God, I just bought it. I just bought it for, you know, this is how the watch got to me. And
wow. Brilliant.
I was really blessed, really lucky that day to be in the right place at the right time.
Yeah, it happens sometimes, doesn't it? Particularly at auction. Now, there's a saying, isn't there, that lightning never strikes twice, but I'm just going to share a picture that you kindly sent before. And here we go. This is the money shot. You actually showed me both these watches when I was over in Dubai, and
it's hard to see two in one picture, actually.
Yeah.
And the other one, so the left one, it's not my personal watch. It's from the shop, but it's an extremely rare configuration, which I haven't seen a second time. Has a Morales finish on the case, matching finish on the mesh brick bracelet, and it's an 1806, and then has the Arabic dial and Arabic calendar, and it's an insane watch. It's just an insane watch. It's a bit tough to wear with that mesh bracelet. It's very sensitive, so it's more a collection piece.
Yeah.
But it's stunning. And on the blue one, I have never seen a second example with the blue dial, nor has anybody I spoke to, like we speak about scholars and specialists and all in our industry, and nobody's ever seen a second example. So we don't know if it's unique or not.
Wow. Well, it's unique until we see another one, I guess.
Exactly. It's one of those where we see it's possibly unique.
Yeah. Arguably, or most likely. In most cases, we would say, that this is unique. Fabulous. Great stuff. So, okay, we've done we've done the GMT Master. We've done the Day. Let's move into another sports watch.
I think you will like this.
Oh, you're right. I do love this.
This it's a two-door 79190 Submariner with a stainless steel polished bezel. Yeah,
these watches are. I just feel they're so cool and so undiscovered. You know.
Yeah, you tell me. I mean, you're the specialist on that. I can't remember seeing more than a handful in my life.
Yeah,
I don't know. There was one posted last year by Bulang, Bulang Sons, which I missed, and I was lucky that this was offered to me by a dealer, just like a few months later, and I just jumped on it. I find it beautiful. Yeah. The stainless steel bezel just gives it that stealth look. It's I would call this Darth Vader. I don't know. It's so beautiful.
Cool. We're gonna do a screen share because we want people to be able to just appreciate how cool this is. This is a good one. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I know that it was produced with black dial and blue dial with this stainless steel bezel, and I always think that the modern era heritage watch, the Black Bay steel, is kind of takes its cue from these watches. But you're right, I haven't seen loads of them over the years, and I don't know why that is. One theory that I've always had about these watches is that for many years it was much more desirable to have either a blue or a black bezel insert in those watches, and it was probably quite an easy switch. Well, we know it's an easy switch to do. Pop the bezel off, knock the stainless steel insert out, and put a blue one in, or a black one, depending on the dial colour, and you've got what was then probably a more easily movable watch for a dealer to sell. Yeah. And I suspect maybe that even happened in the Rolex and Tudor boutiques where these watches were sold. And then fast forward, I don't know, 20 years, and suddenly everybody's like, oh, those watches are so cool, but there aren't that many of them out there. Interestingly, I see more in the mid-size, the 33
Yes.
and the 36 mil version of
The
the
blue
watch.
ones are available. If you want a blue one, I think you can go out on the market and you can find one today.
Yes.
But I don't know of a second example, like one example for sale at the moment anywhere. I don't know. Since I have it, a lot of people kind of asked me, "Can you get me one? Can you get me one?" And I started looking at it, and I couldn't find a single piece.
No, it's unusual, definitely, as a watch. And I think what's great about the 79190s is the fact that they have got the sapphire glass, so it really is a really wearable watch.
It is the watch which I'm gonna swim with in the sea in Desert Island.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the one we'll use when we go. Yeah, when we go diving for oysters when we finish later on, you can strap that one on and have no worries at all. No, but it is. It's a cool watch. It's a classic Submariner with a twist with that bezel. Let's take a look at another pic that you sent. It really does in the sunlight. Really pops, doesn't it?
Yeah. And I've researched the watch a little bit. It was apparently only produced for a year in '97. You can even find it on the Tudor website among their heritage models for the Submariner. It's listed at only produced in '97. I don't know much more about this watch. I don't think there is anything more about this watch.
No, I don't think there's a lot more to say about it. It's that kind of late 90s time when these probably were some of the last watches with Submariner on the dial before they became, the Hydronaut. And it's a great watch and for sure a future collectible. You got a full set, did you? Box and papers and everything.
Everything. I can imagine that this was an unsuccessful model in the 90s. So they did it a year with a stainless steel bezel, and then it just discontinued it.
Yeah. I
can really imagine that was unsuccessful because at that time it was more functionality. It was more old school, and a silver bezel which reflects the light stronger than anything else was probably not the right thing for a diving watch. And I have, after I got this watch, I actually did a little bit of research, not before, but after. There were those models which were made for the U.S. Marines.
Oh, yeah.
Which have the crowns at 4 o'clock. There's a Rolex as well. Those had the stainless steel bezel as well. I think it was brushed, but they had a stainless steel bezel as well. And if we look at the current collection, that just came back, you can say.
Yeah, the P01.
In between.
Yeah, and a great watch to pass down to your son.
Yeah, true.
No, it's a great heirloom watch to me because it's got everything. It's in wonderful condition. You've got everything with it, and it is, a very, very, very rare watch. So super.
I would have bought it without anything. I mean, I just wanted that watch.
yeah, it's a cool watch. As you say, great for summer on the beach, no question. Yeah. Okay, so on to our last installment here tonight.
The last watch is the watch. If you'd only own one watch for the rest of your life, it will be a Submariner 5512, 5513. So this is a 5512 gilt dial Submariner from mid-60s. So it's got the zinc sulfide tritium, which glows very greenish. So you expose that to UV and it glows like a torch.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, and I love it. It's on the expandable bracelet.
Oh,
it
nice.
Very well on the wrist.
Yeah.
It's a great watch. I never thought I'll enjoy a Submariner that much.
Here's a great picture that you sent me. Just look at that in the sun. Talk to me about the 4 lines on the bottom half of the dial, Tariq.
And I've never seen this model 5512 mid-60s with that dark copper gilt print. Never. It's always like sometimes it's a bit brighter, sometimes it's goldish, but I haven't seen many that dark.
Yeah, it's beautiful. What a great looking watch.
Yeah, there's a very short story behind this actually, which is good for me because I didn't really have to hunt this watch.
While you're talking, I'm going to share another picture because it's beautiful. There it is. Yeah. These gilt dials do pop in the sun, don't they?
Yes, it's very difficult to take good pictures, but I think those reflections are very, very wanted in those pictures.
Yeah, yeah. Sorry, I've interrupted you anyway. You were going to share the story with me.
No problem. So I think it was last year or 2 years ago. I don't remember. It was the beginning of the year, and we watch Maniacs. What do we think about when the year starts? Is what watch I'm gonna buy, of course. You know, other people say I'm gonna lose weight, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna go to the gym. What do we say? Which watch am I gonna buy this year? So it was sometimes in January, and I was sitting on my balcony in the evening, and I was thinking like, I'll buy a gilt sub today, this year. So I was not set on which reference. I'm usually pretty open to these things because I don't want to restrict myself to and narrow it down too much. So I have a tough life finding the watch.
Yeah.
Because I would want it in a good condition, like in a mint condition. And so I said, okay, it's going to be a gilt sub. It's the 5512, it's the 5513, it's the Bart Simpson, it's under, I don't know. And I messaged one of my clients and friends in Germany who I know had a few gilt subs. He had this one and another one and another one. And I know of him, like, he's very attached to his watches, but sometimes he wants to fund a new watch. And then he says, okay, I'm going to let this go. So I was just like trying my luck. Hey, how you doing? Hope everything is fine. By the way, I'm looking for a gilt 5512, 5513. If you ever decide to sell one of yours, which means I would have accepted all of them because I know the client and he's very anal about quality. Like just taking the watch from him is a no-brainer. Could buy it with closed eyes.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, actually, I'm buying some other watches. Do you want this one? I was like, what? What just happened? Like,
wow.
My dream watch of that time just literally came to me in 10 minutes. You know.
Unbelievable.
And he sent me one picture, one. And I was like, okay, done. It's done. Wow. I'm gonna get you that cash in Germany. And a few months later, when I went to Germany to see my family, I got the watch.
Super.
So it was very, very short, but good for me.
Yeah.
If the story would have been long, then it would have been long hunt maybe.
Yeah, but it's interesting, isn't it? Because when you decide, you know, and it's a definitive moment, isn't it? Because you know there's something in you that clicks, and you know, right, this is the watch that I'm going to go looking for. And it's, for me, I liken it to going fishing. It's and you put the line out, and sometimes you have a really bad day fishing and you know you're playing the line and you don't get even a nibble, and then sometimes lines in, bang, straight away you've got your catch.
We all have done so many mistakes, and one mistake is that not saying yes at the right place at the right time. You know, you see something great, okay, we could make it possible, and it would have been just the solution. And I said, maybe I'm going to look for a better price, maybe I'm going to look for something different. And we have to realize, especially when it comes to vintage Rolex, we have to realize what's in front of us and what are the possibilities of getting something like that. Forget the price. Sometimes it's not about the price. Just something like that. Again, when and where. That when, where could be on the other side of the world in 5 years, in 2 years. We don't know. So I've missed a lot of watches by doing that, those mistakes. So, oh, maybe I can find something better. I can save some money, blah, blah. Those watches which I really want, either I can afford them, or yes, or I'll say no. But all these compromises, forget it. It's not going to make you happy.
No, you've got to know your mind and go for it, haven't you?
Yeah, and things happen for a reason, which means if you're there and you were looking for that and it's there, like, why would you say no?
Yeah, yeah, exactly that. So 4 incredible watches, each with an interesting story, and thank you for sharing them with us this evening. So we've got our drink, we've talked about the watches. If we've got a bit of downtime, it might be nice to have a read. Did you think of a book to bring along?
Yes, first of all, I'm not a big reader, but a client of mine, a very dear client of mine, he once came in the shop, and we always have a chat, no matter if he buys a watch or not. We're going to sit an hour per week and just chat. So he recommended me a book, and I actually went and bought it. And that was like 2 years ago. I didn't have the chance to open it, but to be on the desert island, I'm going to open this book. It's called Grand Complication.
Oh, wow. Okay, cool.
It's about the race to build the world's most legendary watch, the Henry Graves.
Ah, okay.
So when we always speak, I mean, I've told you just 4 stories of how about my watches, and then there's the stories which are with the physical watch. Then there's the story behind the watch, which, okay, there's a big crown in the evolution and heritage story in James Bond wore it. Like, that's the background, you know?
Yeah.
So, and this is the story, a book about the story about a man trying to get a watch. How cool is that?
It's so cool. It's so cool.
You
It
know?
it's like the underline of everything that we do, isn't it?
Yeah. So I'm very curious, because things work differently in those times. I mean, today we even if somebody goes back and say, okay, how much was that Grand Complication was ordered by Henry Graves? I don't know the number. Was it $30,000 or something like that? I mean, today we'd say, oh, $30,000. You know, I'll go buy a Daytona for it. That was more money than we could imagine today. You know, at that time. You know.
Yeah. It was a whole pile of cash back then.
Times have changed, and you know, it's a difference. It's a big difference between you and me knowing a model and hunting for it and buying it because we like it. That's actually much easier than to tell anybody what you like and what you want in a watch so he can make one for you. So having a watch made is actually, it's very difficult itself. You have to know what you want. And when you look at that watch, how many complications that had, I couldn't even imagine, I don't know, a fifth of those complications, just to have those. So that story must be a blast. I'm looking forward to read that book.
Excellent. Fabulous. Well, thanks so much for joining me, Tariq. It's a pleasure to catch up. I always enjoy our get-togethers, and thank you so much. The watches are fabulous. The underline tropical mango drink and the book, it's the perfect combination for us. So I did do a bit of diving earlier and picked us up some shellfish. So we'll pop that on the barbie now and maybe have a look through that book and finish our drinks. And thanks again for calling by.
Thank you very much. My pleasure.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.